Well, thanks everyone for taking the time out of your busy schedules to attend our TechXpert series webinar featuring EATON, Crouse, Hinds. My name is Marie Young, and I'm the Marketing and Communications Manager at Crescent, in case you don't know me, and this is Abby Birch. You probably all know Abby. She's our Marketing Project Manager. Our TechXpert marketing campaign is designed to highlight the service and expertise that our Technical Support Center offers through training, webinars, tech tip videos, blog articles, and so much more. Today, we will be hearing from Shane Semple, and we'll be discussing EATON's PREformance prefabricated solutions. Just so you know, you saw the little box that popped up on your screen. The session will be recorded for your reference afterwards. And if you have any questions throughout the presentation, just drop those into the chat on the toolbar, and we'll make sure that we get those answered at the end. In the meantime, you will be muted, and we will just let you take it away, Shane.
Thanks, Marie. I'll go ahead and share my screen. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for the opportunity to talk with you today. So as Marie said, I'm going to be talking about our PREformance product line, which is prefabricated electrical rough-in solutions. And we're seeing a lot of adoption of prefabrication across the market. So these are some of the drivers that are leading to that. The one at the top, the big one, and even through the pandemic, is labor shortages. And it's not so much the availability of people to work, it's the availability of skilled people to work. So the rising unemployment hasn't trained any electricians, unfortunately. So there's still challenges relative to labor in the construction market. On the left side there, you see material management and construction management. Prefabrication can greatly improve your material management on site and make construction management from material ordering and processing be improved. And then in the green area, the coordination and visualization, some of the file sharing tools that have been developed, and the wide adoption of building information modeling has really driven prefab adoption and made prefabrication a lot simpler in the market. So that's kind of what we're seeing, and it's really driving this to be a growth market. Even in these tough times, prefabrication is still a segment that is growing in our business. So what's PREformance? It's a pretty broad offering all around electrical rough-in in the commercial space. So starting with the most basic through custom assemblies that are made to order, our full complete engineered to order offering, and then prefabricated load centers. And I'll touch on each of these and touch on some new products that EATON will be releasing in late Q1 or mid Q2 this year that are going to help kind of further drive some prefabrication. So starting at the very most basic of our offering is just a box with a ground pigtail. For those of you with a prefab shop, buy these, you get your ground pigtail in it. Any of our 4 square 4 and 11/16 boxes can be purchased with a ground pigtail pre-installed. We can do solid or stranded. These are often available from distributor stock, especially the one that you see, the TP403PF. That's our highest volume SKU. But these are stocked items that are readily available. If you have specific boxes, we have customers that really prefer a 4 and 11/16 box. So we can develop stock levels for you with forecasts and competitive pricing on these basic just boxes with ground pigtails. Moving up a step beyond that, and this is where you can really start to see some advantage, is some basic assemblies. So these are bracket, box, and muttering combinations. We're seeing a lot of contractors standardize on different variations of these for their rough-in. So they're working with us and working with their distribution partner, Crescent, to determine what those standards are for them, what their team prefers to use for rough-in, and what works for them, and then determining stock levels at their local distributor to put these on the shelf so that when they are getting that call on that tenant fit-out job for we're ready to start roughing in on Friday, now they can pull this material and get out to the job site, be very efficient, be very fast. Folks with prefab shops are standardizing on this modularization and then bringing these materials into their fab shop where they then add a wiring device to it, or they add an MC whip or a piece of conduit to it, and take it out to the field that way. Instead of ordering 4 SKUs, you can order 1, so it simplifies your material ordering and it reduces your inventory that you're keeping on the shelf. So a lot of different options, essentially anything in the Beeline catalog from a bracket, anything in the Crouse catalog from a box and mud ring, and different variations therein. Another product that we are seeing a lot of growth with is just covers with devices. And kind of, if the videos are up and they're blocking, slide them over and you'll see the images there. But the 3 main are raised covers with either a receptacle or a switch in it, and then different variations of mud ring with a pre-wired wiring device with a metal protective cover on it, and then wires with Wagos on them. We're seeing a lot of adoption of this, especially in markets where rough-in is happening in phases. So that product on the right, the mud ring with a pre-wired device, we're seeing contractors who are going through roughing in their bracket and box with 1 stage before the building is dried in, and then coming back later and installing the mud ring with the pre-wired device on it with a second crew after the building has been dried in, and they can have wiring devices that aren't going to be subject to nature, essentially, in the building. And adoption of this has been very strong. We've done probably close to about 150,000 units of those types of mud rings with devices this year. So very popular SKU. And then the raised covers with the devices are really popular amongst folks who do a lot of service work. So you get a call that in the shop you've got a fork truck that hit a box on the wall and they need to swap out a device there because it got damaged. If you're buying that cover, you're going to be buying the device too eventually, so it just makes it a lot simpler if you've got the device pre-installed. So fair adoption of those products. So now to some of the exciting stuff, some new products that we have coming in the second quarter this year. The first is our Quick Lock box. So this is kind of the full nuts and bolts of the 4-inch version. We'll have 2 different versions of this, a 4-inch and a 4 11/16, which with various configurations therein amongst the 2. This is the 4-inch with the side mount brackets, cable management and backside support included, and connectors. The basis of this product is the box with the pre-installed connectors that you see on the top there. These connectors are made to accept cable from 14.2 up through 10.3. They are very simple knockouts that it's actually a plastic grommet in the bottom that can easily be popped out. With solid wire, it'll actually push it out, or you just push your screwdriver in and pop that little plug out and then push your cable into that connector. Big advantage here is that the connectors are on the outside of the box, so you're not losing any volume on the inside of your box. From a code standpoint, from deep wiring devices, some of these newer USB devices and dimmers are exceptionally deep products, so it becomes difficult to wire in the box, especially if you've got connectors inside the box. So having that on the exterior is going to free up that space in the box, both from a code box build standpoint and just manual installation standpoint. You see at the top and the bottom the cable support for that. So that is an accessory that essentially snaps onto that connector and provides your first means of support, securing your cable in place within a foot of the box per code. On the one on top, the kind of arcing piece around the top of it is the backside support. So that works in conjunction with the S-shaped ears on the sides of the box. So you can mount this directly to a stud. The S-shapes allow you to put them side by side on the same stud, and the S's match up so that the boxes are aligned on the stud. And then you fold that backside support at the top back to your different wall depths depending on the depth of the stud to give you your backside support so that the box doesn't push into the wall. It's very rigid when mounted to a stud. It's strong support there. So it will come in the variation that you see here with all of the accessories. Like I said, the most basic is just the box with the 2 connectors on top. Adjacent to the 2 connectors is a 1/2 and 3/4 inch eccentric knockout. so that then you can add conduit. If you need more than 2 connectors on that side of the box, you can snap in another connector. And then we have the variation with those connectors top and bottom. We'll also have a 4 11/16 version of this box at launch. That one can accept 4 connectors across the top. And then you can go all the way up to 4 across the top, 4 on the bottom. So this can be used as a home run box, an above ceiling lighting box to bring your lighting whips into as an aggregation point. A lot of different applications for this 4 11/16 version. The nice thing is with a 4 11/16 deep with those connectors on the outside, when you're dealing with 2 3-ways and you've got all of those different wires in that box, now you've got space in the box to make your wiring terminations. Only deep at launch. We'll eventually be having an 1.5-inch deep version of this. So this partners well with a new product that we've developed with our with Beeline. This is our new telescoping open bracket. This bracket extends stud to stud. It has a hands-free mounting mechanism. So you'll see on the sides, those tabs, they actually snap to the stud. This auto levels the bracket. As long as your studs are vertical, your bracket will automatically be level across the studs. And then the mounting plate that the box is attached to snaps directly onto that box. It works in conjunction with the quick lock, so you can have your quick lock box with cable pre-installed. This is what we will be using primarily in our prefabrication offering. And then you can mount that directly to that telescoping bracket. It also has a unique feature where when you fully collapse this bracket and stand it vertically adjacent to a stud, this bottom tab here can be screwed into the stud, and then when you rotate that bracket up so that it's now horizontal, the center line is exactly at 18 inches above the finished floor. So no need to, or above the floor as it's currently status. So no need to measure up 18 inches. You know exactly where 18 inches is based on how that bracket is. There's also incremental marks on the telescoping, so if you need to raise it 1/2 inch up to 24 inches, you can do that and then make that adjustment and mount it that way. It's kind of a unique way of mounting that. Like I said, available Q2. We're pretty excited about these products to really help from a prefabrication standpoint and push the envelope. So one of the tools that we encourage folks to use is our online configuration tool for developing your standards, or if you've got a project where you want to figure out 5 or 10 assemblies, you can go online. There's a link at the end of this presentation for the website, but it's eaton.com/ch-configure, and has this online web configuration tool where you can go through and choose your bracket, your box, your mud ring, your wiring device, and build assemblies with this. So you can sit down with your salesperson and develop your standards going through the different options. It's a relatively smart tool, so things that don't go well together, you can't configure. For instance, a single-sided H-style bracket does not work with an adjustable mud ring, so it doesn't give you that option. It's a rules-based tool for web-based configuration of the product. Once you've configured things, you can send them to your salesperson, and they can get pricing for you very quickly on these different products. Moving up from that configurator product is our next solution, which is custom solutions. So on the left there, you see the furniture feed that is fairly popular in data center applications and call centers. And then on the right, just a simple takeoff of an apartment building. Often we'll see situations, especially depending on different union rules, there are certain things allowed and not allowed in electrical rough-in from a prefabrication standpoint. So we've worked with different union contractors to develop, okay, on this project, we'll allow rough-in up to in-wall assembly, but no cable can be prefabricated. That has to be done by our folks on site. Different variations of that we see in different jurisdictions. So from our standpoint, we can still offer a lot of the benefits of prefabrication by building the assemblies, kitting them per room, just without the cost and time of the engineering process and cost of the cable and labor associated. So you get a lot of the material handling benefits of prefabrication without the cost and time needed to do the fully engineered solution. And then the custom solution you see on the left, those are fairly difficult to build, but something that is easy to ship and can be fabricated off-site and then taken to the job site for installation. So that's there's eight receptacles or 4 receptacles there. One of them is split wired with a 12-4 SO cable attached to it. On those kitted solutions, we can do different customized shop drawings. So different levels of customization are available, and kind of reach out to our team, let us know what you need. Our basis for a kitted solution is not to include shop drawings, but they can be added for additional fee depending on what your team needs. Moving up to our full kind of top of the line solution, if you will, is PREformance Complete. So this is our turnkey solution. You may have heard of like a room in the box type of solution. It's a fully engineered, fully built room with cable. It's detailed and coordinated shop drawings, coordinated across the various disciplines: interior design, architecture, structure, mechanical. Everything is customized packaging and delivery. So each room is shipped in its own carton, and typical carton size 24 by 14 by 14, less than 50 pounds of material per carton, so easy to manipulate on site. Delivered typically by floor. We provide a full takeoff service for these types of projects. Typically, we don't normally do this during bid phase, but we will work with you. But when you have an opportunity, you can send PDF of the construction documents to our team. We'll do that takeoff and get a quote back to your team. Typically, what we're seeing is 30 to 40% labor savings. Anecdotally, based on a couple of data points, we're seeing savings of about, on average, 8 minutes per assembly, where we did a couple of hotel jobs in parallel, and one was done using conventional rough-in methods, one was done using our PREformance package, same hotels at different sites, same contractor, and they saved about 8 minutes per assembly in the prefab rough-in portion. And then one thing unique to the PREformance package is all of our work is done in Revit, and we can share Revit models with your team after the floor is complete. So then you can use that for visualization. If you're using BIM 360, it can be tied into your BIM applications. If you're doing visualization on site with an iPad, you can link that in and utilize that information. So reach out to us on that. Typical projects where this makes sense is, and we'll get into it a little bit more detail, but it's where there's repeatability in units. This doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense for your medical office building or your, say, school, but it makes a lot of sense for an apartment building or a hotel. So this is how the material is packaged and delivered for PREformance Complete type solution. 16 cartons per pallet. Each pallet is labeled with the name of the project, the floor to which it's going, and then the specific room that carton needs to go into. Instruction sheet inside with the material packaged in that carton. We also do prefabrication of load centers. So these are customer supplied load centers. It does not have to be an EATON load center. We can work with other load center manufacturers material. We're not purchasing the load centers or the breakers or ground bars or any of the material specific to the load center. We're including, as far as material, the connectors, the cable, and the labeling and the cover that you see there. So you send us your breakers and load center tubs. We will fabricate, neatly label and trim out the load center and ship back to the job site for installation. So this can be a pretty significant labor saving for your team. So qualifying opportunities. PREformance, there is a solution for almost every project. There's some solution, but it's not a one size fits all. Different projects work for different solutions. schedule is important. There is lead time associated with these different products. So determining what that schedule, when you need that material, is going to be important. If you want a complete solution, you're looking at a minimum of 6 to 8 weeks from PO to initial shipment on that. Custom solutions can be done more quickly, maybe 4 weeks. MTO, 2 to 3, depending on what product you need and material availability. So like I said, it's very important to identify the schedule. It's also important to identify what the efficacy of the project. So if we look at these different buildings, these are the ones that make sense for your PREformance Complete, that fully engineered cable product where you have repeated units. It allows the engineering, which is a significant portion of the expense of this product, to be stretched out much wider over the project rather than a medical office building where essentially every unique assembly is going to be unique. The receptacle in that room is going to be different than the receptacle in the next room from a cable length standpoint and how it needs to mount, for instance. So you don't have that in an apartment or a hotel where that information can be copied and you get that kind of value of scale. So a few things that I would encourage you all to check out: EATON.com/PREformance. That's our landing page for the PREformance product line. There are videos on there that touch on the product line, general overview. Our link to our capability brochure is there as well. And then the configuration tool that I had mentioned is available at eaton.com/chconfigure. If you have questions on that, you can reach out to my team and we can help you with the configuration. Most of our sales team has been trained in this, so your local Eaton sales agent, Crouse, Hinds, or Beeline, can help you with that as well. So from a manufacturing standpoint, this is all domestically fabricated. The majority of our product is actually domestically manufactured as well. For the most part, most of our 4-square boxes, most of our mud rings, most of our brackets from Beeline are manufactured in the United States. There are products which are not. So if you are dealing with a Buy America Act project, reach out to our team. We can help you through that and figure out what products will qualify for that requirement. From a manufacturing standpoint, our main source of manufacturing is in Meadowlands, Pennsylvania, which is about half hour south of Pittsburgh. We also do some manufacturing in Syracuse and Roanoke, Virginia, and then have distribution centers in Roanoke and Bloomington, California for stock materials. So this is our PREformance shop, about 40 fabricators right now in 2 shifts per day. We're building quite a lot of product right now. It's very busy, so it's good with everything else going on. It's pretty positive to be busy for sure. All right, with that, any questions that the team has? Thanks for paying attention.
Thank you, Shane.
Thank you. There were a couple questions that came in. What is the lead time for the various prefab solutions you offer?
Sure. So the basic product, the ground pigtail with a box, some of that is stock, and what isn't stock is typically available in 2 weeks. What we encourage is if it's something that you expect to use a lot of, reach out to us and we can build that into stock at our distribution centers or with your local Crescent location. On the custom made to order solutions, so the configured assemblies, typically it's a 3-week lead time on those products. On your custom kitted solutions, typically the lead time on that is 4 weeks. There's a little bit of engineering on the front end of that product. And then on the fully engineered complete solutions, typically it's about 6 to 8 weeks. And right now it's 8 weeks based on just backlog. We're very busy right now. So typically it's about 8 weeks currently on the PREformance Complete solutions.
Great. One other question that came in is I'm trying to decide what I should plan to build versus buy from a prefab shop. What are your recommendations?
Sure. So this is a question that comes up a lot with folks who are developing their own prefab shops. My recommendation typically is it varies. It varies depending on your local capabilities, but at a broad sense, it's often best to buy things that are easy to ship. So things that manufacturers make, like in-wall rough-in, it's easy to put in a carton, you can get it delivered. But standardize on products and then integrate those into your prefab shop to make yourself more efficient. The things that you don't want to try to buy are things like conduit trapezes and fire alarm control panels that are pre-wired, things like that that require skill. So you are going to have skilled labor in your prefab shop. Utilize the skill of those folks. The things that are easy to get from the market are the things that you want to focus on buying. And we often see kind of an evolution in prefab shops. They start out by doing the most basic things that I talked about today, just the ground pigtail in a box and some basic assemblies. And then as they evolve and become more sophisticated, they start to do more like conduit trapezes, and then they start to do underground assemblies of large conduit banks. Then they'll start to do full electric rooms that are welded onto frames that they crane into the building. So that evolution happens, and as they kind of evolve, they lose some of the manpower availability, and then they want to look at buying some of the more basic things that they can get off the shelf.
Awesome, thanks. One more question that just came in is, many of our contractors do the prefab themselves. Are you still able to show a savings over them doing it themselves versus buying your prefabricated solution?
We can, and it's really dependent on the contractor. Different contractors have different levels of cost and different levels of capability, really. They also have different labor availability that becomes a challenge for them. So we deal with many of our customers that are buying prefab from us also have in-house prefab shops. They use us as a supplement. They use us as a modularization tool. So the stuff that I talked about at the beginning, where we are kind of building some basic assemblies and then those prefab shops take them and modify them in their shop is an option. And then sometimes we're just more efficient and more cost effective than the customer's prefab shop. So it really is dependent on the customer, but there are a lot of different ways that we can still service customers who do have a prefab shop.
Great, thank you. Well, that was all the questions that came in. Everybody is unable to mute, so if you did have a question for Shane, now's your chance to ask those. All right, Marie, I think we're ready for you to close up.
Great. Well, thanks everyone for attending. I know schedules are crazy, so we really appreciate your time to support the TechXpert series. Thank you, Shane from EATON, for sponsoring our TechXpert webinar series. And make sure you check out that series on our YouTube channel. Watch for our emails and watch for our posts on Facebook and LinkedIn, where you will be able to see additional information about these products from EATON and others. And make sure you share. All right. Thank you very much. Have an awesome afternoon.
Thanks, guys. Happy holidays.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Shane. Good to see you.